Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video, we're reviewing the all-new Maserati MC20. Before we get into this video, I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to the Maserati of downtown Salt Lake City for giving me some time with this MC20. This particular one is still available for sale for the time being, so if you're interested, I'll include a link to their website in the description down below so you can check out this car and the rest of the inventory that they have. And then on a side note, if you want to save time and money, the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below. Let's get into it. Now, since the engine is in the middle of this particular car, we do have a little bit of storage space up front with some netting. And this is actually really cool. You guys can see that this is all made of forged carbon. Now, before we go over the front end, I do want to mention, if you want to see more videos just like this, then I recommend you subscribe because I post content every single day. So starting with the hood, you guys can see the venting there on either side, and it just looks absolutely fantastic. Now, the headlight design is both simplistic and elegant. I think they did a really good job there. And then we do have parking sensors integrated in the front end, and then you can see we've got both of the Maserati logos in normal fashion. Apparently the camera doesn't want to focus today. Whoops. Putting it all together, this has to be one of the most beautiful cars ever designed. I mean, look at this thing. Now, the tire wheel setup up front is 245, 35, 20. In the rear, it's 305, 30, 20. So slightly staggered setup. And just look at the wheel design here. Again, it just goes with the overall theme of this car. It's simplistic yet beautiful. I do love the yellow brake caliper. I think it contrasts nicely to the red paint on this particular car. Now, this is random, but I think it's really cool. The turn signal indicator light on the side, I don't know, I just like how that looks. And then we got MC20 here, and then look at this for airflow, and then up above as well. And then taking a look at the side view here with the MC20, again, the design is just absolutely gorgeous. Now, here's our key fob. It's wrapped up in this covering for those of you that are wondering, but it's pretty simplistic. You've got your unlock, lock function, and then the opening here for the rear. Now, before we go over the engine and the specs with the engine, we do have a little cargo area here in the back. So you've got a little bit of space up front, and then you have a bit of space in the back, which makes this pretty practical for a supercar. So like I said earlier, the MC20 is mid-engine, and powering this mid-engine car is a twin-turbo 3-liter V6 that goes through an 8-speed dual-clutch automatic transmission. Fuel economy is 15 around town and then 25 on the highway, with power outputs being a whopping 621 horsepower and then 538 pound-feet of torque. And I want you guys to just take a moment to admire the carbon fiber there on the engine cover. And speaking of carbon fiber, again, this is all forged carbon here. And like a lot of mid-engine cars, we do have a glass cover here, so you can actually see into the engine bay, and it just adds to the theater of this car. And we've got carbon fiber here for the rear spoiler, and then look at the taillights. Again, sleek with the overall design. And then you guys can see the exhaust tips here poking out of the center. Kind of reminds me of McLaren a little bit, but still looks so cool. Putting it all together, I think that this is probably going to take the crown as the most beautiful car that I have ever reviewed. I mean, again, just look at all the lines. It really is a work of art. And this, my friends, is how you know you made it in life. Now, this will probably be the best shot of the forged carbon here with this MC20. It's so cool to see. But then you guys can see the rest of the door panel. It actually has really nice like leather trim stitching. It's got Alcantara down below as well. You've got this little strap to help pull it down when you are popping in. You guys can see the speaker for the sound system. But yeah, just such a cool looking door. And then taking a look at the seats, you guys can see the Maserati trident there, and then look at the stitching and the leather trim throughout. Again, just goes with the overall theme of this car. And then you got MC20 right there. And then look at the pedals, absolutely beautiful, really nice material use. And then we've got some Alcantara here, and then I love the little buttons here for the lights. Nice finish on it. And then even the adjustment for the mirror, like the control, really high quality looking and feeling. Now, taking a look at the steering wheel, we've got Alcantara here on either side, and then look at the carbon fiber down below, and then also at the top as well. And then even here on the inserts, got our stop start button here, launch control on the steering wheel, and then you actually have practical controls like volume controls. You've got cruise control. This is to raise and lower the front end of the car. Obviously, being a supercar, it's lower to the ground. And then of course, column mounted paddle shifters. So we've got this full digital gauge cluster here in the center. Right now we're in the wet mode. We can pop it over into GT mode, which is, I guess, your daily driver mode, if you ever daily drive this. Sport mode, and then if we hold it down for a moment, then that'll pop us into Corsa mode, and it completely changes the look of the gauge cluster. Now we do have a backup camera with trajectory lines that turn with the steering wheel, and resolution is really good. Now, as for the rest of the infotainment system, this is super similar to the unit that you'll find in other Maserati models or other vehicles in the Stellantis lineup, which I think is a really good thing because this infotainment system responds really well. It's super easy to use. Like, everything makes sense. Again, you guys can see the climate tab here, for example, and then can like sync it. You got heated seats. Like, it just makes sense, but it's cool that you got little MC20 right there. That's pretty sweet. And then here in the center is the drive mode select, and it just adds to the theater when you change the different drive modes. And then you guys can see more of that matte carbon fiber. And then this is to go into drive. You've got your manual mode, and then you have reverse. You guys are probably noticing you don't have park. How park works is you've got a little parking brake down there. And then just like supercars in the past, right, you pull both paddles at the same time, and then I'll put the car in neutral. So parking brake on, neutral, that is how you get the car into park, at least to my knowledge from what I've seen so far. I also noticed there's a P there. So perhaps I'm missing something. Let me know in the comment section below. But anyways, window controls here in the center. And then you guys can see your lock and everything. You've got your volume control. Again, really high quality feel with that. And then we've got this little storage here. That's probably the smallest center console I've ever seen. But just look at the Alcantara on it. I think that looks really cool, actually. And then we've got beautiful leather trim here on the dash with the stitching all over. And then it says MC20 right there. And then even the glove box has Alcantara. It's lined with felt as well. Yeah, material use in this, they did a really good job. And then guess what? Again, since this can share parts with other vehicles in the Stellantis lineup, we have a rear view camera mirror, which is so important for a supercar because this would be our viewpoint out of the back if we didn't have that rear view camera mirror. So like practicality, just it helps out so much. And then you also have Alcantara here on the headliner and pillars and all that stuff. Again, normal supercar thing, I feel like. So here's our window sticker for the MC20, and of course we got to read Maserati's little thing on this. The Maserati MC20 is the ultimate expression of the brand's audacious spirit and performance capabilities. With carbon fiber chassis and Nettuno engine, the MC20 touts incredible performance, perfectly mated to beautiful Maserati design. Yeah, I think well said. Base MSRP $230,000, and you can see all the stuff that comes standard with that base MSRP. Now we do have some options on this one. This one has the carbon ceramic brakes, which makes sense. It was pretty touchy. The electronic limited slip differential. You can see all the other options. It's crazy how much some of these options cost. Dang, man. Anyways, after all options, this one stickers for $286,345. Let's see how it drives. So let's talk about visibility before we set off. Here's visibility over the hood. Both the mirrors just do have blind spot monitoring. And throughout the rest of the rear. And you can actually just pull the plus paddle is going to drive. Now, I mentioned earlier in the walk around how I didn't figure out how to put it into park. I still haven't figured out like if there's a button or anything that I'm missing, but what I have discovered is if you put it in neutral, turn off the car, and then press this again, that'll put the car into park because you guys can see now park is illuminated. Let me know in the comment section below if there's another way to put it into park, but that's what I've figured out. So we are setting off in the MC20, and first off, being a supercar, it's pretty low to the ground, but it does have that front end lift, which does help out quite a bit. You still want to take things at an angle, you still want to take it slow so that you don't bottom out in the car. And I will say visibility is actually pretty good in the MC20 overall. And again, that rear view camera mirror helps out quite a bit with the overall visibility. Transmission, super responsive. And the front end lift, once you go above about 25 miles an hour, it'll actually lower down. Now, something to note is you can always hear the engine kind of rumbling in the back, but it's actually pretty like, you know, luxurious in here in a sense. The seats are really comfortable, and you do get a, I mean, you guys kind of heard that you do get a bit of road noise, but overall, You could actually probably daily drive this, funny enough. I mean, it's got I mean, you guys heard the fuel economy figures earlier. It's got pretty good fuel economy for what it is, and again, I don't think anyone would ever daily drive it, but the possibility is there. I do like the fact that you can hear, you know, quite a bit what's happening on the side. Like, you can hear like all the little rocks and everything from the road, and so it just adds to the theater of the car. The turbo noise is pretty crazy in the MC20 as well. So we'll do the dial to shift it into sport mode. Now, it does firm up the suspension as well as making everything more aggressive with the engine and the transmission. So that's a little bit different. And the carbon ceramics, they do take a second to get used to, but once you get used to them, it's actually one of the better systems, because most carbon ceramics are kind of on-off. This has a little bit of progression to the pedal. And so it's, again, it makes it more usable. That sounds so cool. I don't know if it's gonna pop onto the GoPro, but the turbo noises you get with this are really fun. Now I've got it in the manual mode. Again, having those column mounted paddle shifters, I would say adds to the experience. Yeah, just so much turbo noise, and it's right by, because you've got the intake right there, it's just right by your left ear, and so it's really cool. We'll get a little acceleration here. It's not even full throttle, that's the crazy part. This powertrain is fantastic. So to pull everything together, oh, that's such a cool sound. The MC20 is one of the most beautifully designed cars ever created, and on top of that, it drives just so amazing. Just some of the things that Maserati does to kind of add to the theater and the fun of this car. It just, yeah, it's crazy. But let me know what you guys think about the MC20.